The David Pakman Show at davidpakman.com.
Okay, Vanity Fair has done a pretty extensive article about, what is it about? It's about Mitt Romney, his money, his various bank accounts, his various offshore tax havens, etc. I'd encourage you to look at the
vanity.
It's about vanity. It's about Romney's vanity. I would encourage you to look at the whole thing, but I went through it and made a couple of notes because there are a bunch of interesting things here. It starts off by telling this story about someone who worked with Bain in 1977, worked with Romney at Bain, rather, and saying Mitt was a really wonderful boss. He was nice, he was fair, he was logical, he said what he wanted, he was really encouraging. But then the person goes on to tell this story about how Romney pushed employees to find out secret revenue and sales data on its clients' competitors, and Romney, according to this person, suggested falsifying who they were to get information by pretending to be a graduate student working on a project at Harvard. And Mitt said something to this person, it's of course all alleged, "We won't ask you to lie. I'm not going to tell you to do this, but it's a really good way to get the information." Okay, well, doesn't mean he can't be president. Just the same way, apparently, according to Lewis, bullying someone you perceive to be gay and pushing them down and cutting all their hair off, that doesn't preclude you from being president either, Lewis. But let's just keep going through the article and seeing what else is in here, why don't we?
Okay, sure,
all right.
Go ahead.
So then there's another incident. It says, particularly jarring were the Romneys' many offshore accounts. As Newt Gingrich put it during the primary season, I don't know of any American president who's had a Swiss bank account, but Romney has, as well as other interests in tax havens such as Bermuda and the Cayman Islands. Again, we had a sense of this a little bit from his tax returns that were released, but this really going into a lot more detail. And then there's this paragraph, which is pretty interesting, about how there's a Bermuda-based entity named Sankaty High Yield Asset Investors Limited, which has been described in securities filings as a Bermuda corporation wholly owned by Willard Mitt Romney. Interesting. It could be just a vehicle that was set up a long time ago and is of no significance now, except that it was set up in 1997, and he transferred his wife's blind trust to it on January 1st, 2003. Well, what significance is that date? Day before he was inaugurated as governor of Massachusetts. Interesting. By itself, not something that would preclude you from being the president, but it's all starting to add up in a very, very weird way. And then this kind of somewhat dovetails into the story yesterday about Romney actually being an investor into that aborted fetus disposal firm, which he claimed not to have been working at Bain during when Bain was investing in it. It says, though he left Bain in 1999, Romney has continued receiving large payments from it. In early June, he revealed more than $2 million in new Bain income. The firm today has at least 138 funds organized in the Cayman Islands, and Romney himself has personal interests in 12 of them, worth as much as $30 million, and they're hidden behind these confidentiality disclaimers. A $3 million Swiss bank account appeared in the 2010 returns and then disappeared in 2011 after it was closed. What do you think, Lewis? Is all this stuff together going to become an issue for Romney?
Probably, yeah.
You think it will?
Yeah. I mean, doesn't it kind of make him seem untrustworthy?
It does. I mean, it's one of these things where when you take a broader, conservatives will say, listen, he's successful, he's doing what makes sense with his money, he has access to accountants who can get all this stuff set up for him, and it just makes sense. But when we come down to it, does it really make sense for a U.S. president to have bank accounts all over the world when really he's trying to stimulate the American economy, when he is trying to support American jobs and American banking? It just doesn't really fit to me. Natan, what do you think? Is this going to be a big deal? Should it be a big deal? I think it should be.
I don't know. It's tricky because, like we've talked about on the show, people kind of, a lot of people, not us, think that this type of a background might actually be a good thing. In other words, the shadiness isn't a good thing, but the economic success that he had personally is viewed as a positive, in part because people, have a somewhat positive view of rich people in this country.
Right, but keep that in the U.S. To be successful, and don't open the offshore bank accounts in Switzerland, the Cayman Islands, and Bermuda, right? I mean, I think we have to, hopefully people will distinguish and they'll realize Mitt Romney doesn't have the U.S. economy's best interest in mind. He doesn't have workers' best interest in mind. It's all about where can he put money and what can he do to enrich himself personally. It's abundantly clear.
I'd like to think that well, clearly the wealthy are still going to support him. The wealthy conservatives, they don't care that he has money offshore. So do they.
Well, they have
But-
a lot of the same accounts.
Right. But, you know, the Americans who aren't as wealthy, who think that Romney is this all-American hero, I think this would be a shocker to them, and hopefully they do enough research to discover it.
Between the offshore bank accounts and avoiding the war by going to France to convert people to Mormonism, and let's be honest, this guy is not really the all-American guy that the Republicans would hope that he is, and maybe some believe that he is.
Not at all.